So the topic of today's talk is going to be awareness. Generally, my approach to teaching is focus on the human, focus on the ego. And awareness reveals itself effortlessly and unexpectedly when it's time, when the ego no longer clings to the illusion of its existence. But it doesn't mean that a direct reminder could not also be beneficial, and it might help others to discover, to see for the very first time what is hiding underneath the incessant activities of the mind. I am. It arises before words. It arises before any concepts. I am is the divinity itself. Everything else is on top of it. So ask yourself this question. Am I aware? And of course the answer to this question is yes. But notice, where do you go to know that? Am I aware? Where is this place that knows that? This is the most fundamental. In some ways, this is the only thing that you truly know. That I am aware. I exist. I am alive. Right now. Right at this moment. Everything else arises in awareness. So what are you really? You're not your job. You can change your job. You're not what you do. You can do one thing in one moment, another thing another moment. You're not your name. Your name is just a sound other people make to attract your attention. If we all made the same sound, it would be very confusing. So we have different names. So you're not that. You're not your thoughts. Thoughts come and go. You're not your emotions. Emotions come and go. You're not your circumstance in life that changes. Any role that you're playing is temporary. If you really think about it, oh, and by the way, from this perspective, you're not your body either. If you lost an arm, you would still be aware. If you think about it, the only thing that has never changed in your overall life experience is awareness itself. Everything happened in it. Your body grew in it from a clump of cells into this extraordinary, complicated organism that you are. It aged in it. It changed in it. All thoughts, emotions, all circumstances of your life arose and fell in it. And it's the only thing that remained constant, continuously, always. And it's a peculiar thing, this awareness. Well, first of all, it's not a thing at all. It is the spacious, infinite background of your experience. It has no boundaries. It is vast. It is spacious. It is very transparent, translucent. It is very porous. It allows everything to come, and it allows everything to go. Everything that you have ever been aware of has been a part of it. It arose from it, and it fell into it. And it's not possible to experience anything without it. Your sight, your hearing, your sense of smell, your thoughts, your emotions, all of it has been arising in this boundless, infinite space of awareness. This has always been your home. It is the most fundamental quality of your life. Everything else comes and goes. It is the most fundamental quality of every experience. Every experience is contained within it. It doesn't choose. It is choiceless. It has no attributes. All attributes arise in it. It has no borders. The illusion of borders arises in it. It is pristine, clear. And it is very peaceful. So this awareness is divinity itself. God is all there is, and it contains all that you can ever experience. It is all that you are. And it is all that you can ever be. All concepts, explanations, ideas, making sense, comes within it. That is all that you can know in the absolute sense. All other knowledge is relative. That is everything that you can know. With absolute certainty. Everything else may turn out to be false. Some things are, of course, extraordinarily likely to be true. Some things are extraordinarily unlikely. I can tell you that I know that the sun is going to rise tomorrow, but there's a probability that it won't, however small it is. But there is zero probability that I'm not aware right now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be having that experience. That's the only absolute knowledge that you are, that you exist, that you're alive. That is knowledge before words, before concepts. You were aware long before you learned to speak. You were aware long before you learned how to use conceptual reasoning and symbolic thought, manage concepts, deal with concepts, communicate with other people. And you will be aware after you lose this ability. The unraveling of the ego happens in it. The process of spiritual transformation happens in it. It is our being itself. It is life itself. It is the only God that exists. It's what we share in common with every living being. It is the source of love, peace, happiness, and equanimity. It is the source of enjoyment of your own existence. It is your very existence itself. And once it is found, or shall we say remembered, it illuminates the totality of your experience with divinity, with sacredness, with preciousness, is the very heart of you. Unconditioned, unbound, unborn, unformed. It is that in which everything forms, and that to which everything returns. And we forget about it during the process of conditioning, which we talked about in the last talk. In an attempt to escape our pain and suffering, in an attempt to conform to society, we suppress our pain and develop an incessant monologue in our minds and develop a character which we play. And so as a result of that, our attention is fixated, it becomes small. We start feeling limited. We start feeling constricted. The deeper in touch we are with it, the larger we become. This awareness represents the infinite self-love, which is the foundation of every life. Every living being is infinitely in love with themselves. So that is why subjectively, experientially, when the ego starts to dissolve, when the mind-created world that the ego inhabits starts to crumble, we feel expansion, we feel infinitude, we feel like we're coming back home, back to the unity with the divine, back to the unity with life, back to the unity with the universe. God, love, life, universe, existence, they are all pointing words. They're all synonyms. They are words pointing you back to this very foundational. And the more you are in touch with it, the more the ego's deceit and delusion become intolerable. The more you want to go deeper into it, the more you want to uncover more of the mind tricks making you forget about it, making you ignore it, making you constrict your attention onto something very, very small, but that feels very, very important. You cannot analyze it. The analysis happens in it. You cannot think your way there. Thinking happens in it. You cannot yearn for it. The yearning happens in it. If you miss it, it hasn't gone away. The missing happens in it. It cannot go away. If it goes away, you go away. It is fluid, allowing, it flows with life, because it is life itself. And the more we deconstruct the mind's games to veil it in order to keep the attention on the thought process, which has another ulterior agenda, not to feel what we have repressed, not to feel what we have denied. The more we see through the games and the more we start to feel, the more we start to open up to our feelings with the help of this awareness's unconditional relationship to experience. The brighter and brighter it shines, and the more effortless the presence of this awareness becomes. In the beginning, it might feel like it takes effort to get in touch with it. But that's actually the illusion. It is the dropping out of effort that gets you closer to it. The effort is what masks it. The effort is what takes your attention away from it. But in the process of dropping out of effort, you invariably experience the exposure to all the inner effort that is going on to run away. In the process of moving closer to home, to peace, to equanimity, you invariably get exposed to the inner war that is going on in your minds, to the argument that is going on in your minds. So that's why it may feel like meditation feels like a lot of effort, restlessness. Strictly speaking, meditation is not effort. It's just an observation. Because that's what this awareness does. It just observes. It is a container for all of your experience. It penetrates all of your experience. There is not a single speck of your experience that isn't penetrated by awareness. So some people say meditation is difficult, it is heavy, it is restless, it is boring. It's not the quality of awareness. They are witnessing the effort that is continually exerted by the mind. That's why enlightenment is a relaxation. That's why the state of mind of humanity is a very sick state of mind. That's why there is a release of energy on the spiritual journey. It is dropping out of the unnecessary effort. It is dropping out of your desire to arrive somewhere. Attain something, achieve something. And the realization that you're already home. And you have always been home. In this process, we get to see the deep reasons of why we want it. To achieve something, to attain something, to prove something to ourselves or to others. And that's why it can be emotionally difficult and gut-wrenching and painful, because those reasons are sad. How we got to the place where self-rejection has become so thorough that this very fundamental, the most obvious fact about your existence, the primacy of awareness, the primacy of being alive, has become so thoroughly veiled. So it's an emotional journey. There's fear arising in awareness, which the awareness welcomes. So if you notice, a lot of the advice that I give is the advice about giving your attention to something, or welcoming something, or accepting something. Those are the primary qualities of awareness. It accepts, it welcomes everything, it doesn't ignore anything, and it gives equal attention to everything. So by doing that deliberately, yes, sometimes with a certain amount of effort, you're getting closer to your true nature. You're learning to resist less. Awareness doesn't resist anything. You're learning to accept more. You're learning to ignore less. And there's a liveliness to this process. There's a liveliness to awareness. It is alive. It is beaming with life. It is crisp. It is beautiful. Our senses are dampened in the separated state, simply because we don't give them attention. We give most of the attention in the separate state to the mind, to the thought process. We think there is some solution there to a lack of enjoyment, to a lack of contentment, to a lack of happiness. We think we can think our way into happiness, or act our way into happiness. But happiness and awareness are synonymous. Because happiness is our birthright. Contentment, the enjoyment of life, is our birthright. Life is to be enjoyed. The deeper you allow this awareness to flower, to expand in your experience, the more enjoyable life becomes, even with its struggles and problems, and things don't always go your way. But there's a pleasure even in that. It is the source of joy itself. It is the source of contentment itself. It's not outside of you. It is inside of you. It is also the source of love. You cannot love what you do not appreciate. The deeper you appreciate the experience of life, the more content you are, the more accepting you are of any experience, the deeper you can love. Until one day, the awareness becomes infinite and love becomes infinite. And you learn to love everything. Because that's your one and only life. And every moment of it is precious. And every moment of it is saturated by your presence, is saturated by your awareness. It is in some sense for you. Even the most tortuous moment of despair or fear is still for you. The whole world is for you. And you are an inseparable part of it. The ego dissolves into awareness like a droplet of water dissolves into the ocean. And then you understand that you belong, and you have always belonged. The ego, the self-rejection, the search, the seeking, all of that was an illusion. And things have always been like that, since your birth to your death. So that is all I have to say today about this very vague topic of awareness. But once you know it, once you have tasted it, you start to understand. It is not something you can read about or imagine. It is not something that requires intellectual understanding. It is something that you get to know in your own experience. It is a deep experiential shift of your relationship with life and your relationship with yourself. The primacy of experience, the immediacy of experience, the intimacy of experience compared to thought, compared to the descriptions of experience, which are in reality just a small part of experience. In the ego's world, it's the other way around. Words are very important, descriptions are very important. The actual experience is given very little attention. So that concludes my talk for the second time. And I am open to any questions.
3 questions.
3? Okay, let's start with the most important one.
Experientially, when you say, and you realize the whole world is for you, what does that actually mean? Like, how do you experience that realization? And what does it feel like in the moment for the whole world to be for you?
I wish I could tell you.
What'd you say?
I said I wish I could tell you. That's the best description that I can come up with. It is for you, this life, this world, is for you to experience, is for you to enjoy. You were nothing, and you arose out of nothing to have this experience. It is literally for you. The experience of your own body, the experience of touch, the senses. All of this was created out of nothingness to be experienced by you. Even you're losing your sight of that, constructing a character, losing yourself in seeking, experiencing suffering, suppressing emotions, experiencing despair and fear and coming back home is also for you. It's a hell of an experience.
I guess I'm curious if you would describe the world as also you, not just for you, but like if everything is just a dance of awareness, which is you are this awareness, and every manifest thing is also in awareness.
Yes.
Is that the experience? Like you are also this world that is for you?
Yes. Yes, you could say so too. Because everything that I see, everything that I touch, everything that I experience, I only experience the world through my senses. So every one of my senses are literally me. Like, right, for example, I'm looking at you. But how the real you looks like is not something that can even be, we can even begin to think about. The vision, the image that I'm looking at right now is constructed by my brain. A fly would look at you very differently. So I'm actually observing myself. So it's the same with touch. Every experience that I can possibly have is created by me, and it is me.
Mm-hmm.
So in this sense, I am everything, and everything is for me is quite synonymous. I am for myself. I exist for my own enjoyment. Life itself is the enjoyment, is the pleasure. Every experience is the pleasure. Whatever you're experiencing on the spiritual path, even if it feels very unpleasant, awareness delights in it. Even if it's not pleasant, or even if it's not obvious at the time.
could get the sense that like everything is sort of this reflection of my awareness, like the side of you.
Like let's do this. Just look at me right now. Try to see if there's any distance between the image of my face and you.
No.
No.
It's in me. Yeah.
It's zero.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing is literally yourself.
I think it's this idea that I know there's also a you over there.
Well, I mean, well, of course there's also me, right? But you cannot perceive it directly, right? So you always perceive yourself. You always perceive yourself. Life is self-pleasure, it's self-experience. Like touch your fingers together and just sense it. Where does it arise? What is the distance between you and this experience?
There is none.
There is none.
There's something very funny going on.
That was really powerful at the last, especially the last part, because I realized that I'm looking at my hands, my fingers touching together, but if I take away vision, the sensation of my fingers touching together happens at no distance. It's just like
That's right.
Like right there.
Yes. It's
crazy.
Yes. The vision just kind of create the visual aspect of distance. It's part of vision.
Like it's over there.
Yeah, but if you put your side away, or if you just close your eyes, you see that it's right here.
In your voice.
Yes. So close your eyes. My voice is not coming from some distance. It's appearing in you.
It's not even your voice.
Exactly. It is your own visual. It's your own auditory. You're enjoying your own audio sense. It's not even my voice. It's literally you. It's your ears.
That's so crazy. It's such a mind fuck, and I don't know how to deal with it.
Relax into it. Just relax into it. This applies to all the experience and all the emotional pain and suffering. That's why it's so safe to experience all of this on the spiritual path. This applies to fear too. So just relax into it and slowly allow, welcome every experience with gratitude and appreciation. Just slowly relax, fall into it, dissolve in it.
I guess the last thing I want to say is, I mean, as you were saying, this is like for your enjoyment. I mean, I was just like, man, some of the things that I've put myself through or experienced, just terrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, for example, the feeling of frustration of like being in a place and then just frustrations arising because I really want it to be something else, and just the futility of that would just keep doing it, and I'm making myself suffer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem very, very cool at all.
No, but guess what? Sooner or later, you will look back at it and say, hell, that was fun. I really made this pretzel for myself, and I got my way out of it by pulling myself by the hair out of it. Wow, that was something.
Dang.
So you said that awareness expands to like everything's aware, but to me personally, I still feel alone. Like I'm the only one experiencing what I'm experiencing. I don't know. Is it like just both lonely, like I don't think I've experienced I still feel separate from like everybody.
There's a difference between loneliness and aloneness. You are always alone. Everyone is alone. But not everyone is lonely. Awareness is alone. Just like there's only one God, one reality, one universe. There's only one awareness. No one experiences life the way you do.
Yeah.
No one will have access to your experience. Every one of us is completely alone in our experience. Loneliness, though, is something different. Loneliness comes from separation. Loneliness is yearning for love and acceptance. Loneliness is the desire to replace this lack of connection to our own existence, to our own heart, with the connection with the other. It's not to say that a connection with the other is not great, because it can also open your own heart. Like, for example, we're here doing this. It's a social activity. It's been great for you, right? You don't feel as lonely here as in some other places in your life, shall we say. It can open up your heart to yourself. But ultimately, your own existence is enough. Ultimately, your own life is enough. So the feelings of loneliness arise on the spiritual path universally, and they may intensify it in times when you get more exposed to how lonely you have actually been all this time. And a lot of people say it starts with, and I realized in the spiritual path, as they go on their spiritual path, I realized what a lonely childhood I had, for example. I always felt alone, unloved, rejected. And with practice and allowing these realizations and allowing the sadness and griefs that comes from it, this loneliness is transmuted into a very deep wholeness, into a very deep aloneness. Because you are never alone. You always have yourself. So this yearning gets satisfied by your own heart. And you can still enjoy the company of people, and you can still enjoy being around them, but you don't place this responsibility on them any longer to make you feel better. So it can be a very lonely path.
So I'm lonely because I just don't feel connected to myself.
Ultimately, yes. And again, it's not to say that a connection with a person who appreciates you and loves you, or a connection to a teacher, or a connection to a sangha, or to someone who goes through similar struggle than you are, cannot be good and beneficial and healthy. But ultimately, this connection will also teach you to love and appreciate yourself more. That's how this connection develops from being a helping hand, a crutch, a something that you depend on, even though you might need it at times, and you might need help at times. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's how it develops into a permanent feeling of wholeness, a permanent feeling of lack, of the lack of feeling of lack, that something is missing, that you need something in order to enjoy yourself. See, in order to enjoy your own existence, in order to enjoy your own experience, you need someone else. So it is both a lonely, it's always a paradox, there are always two sides. It is both a very lonely journey, and with lots of feelings of loneliness that are later transmuted into very deep wholeness, where it's not possible to feel lonely anymore, because you always have this. You always have yourself, you always have the world. And there's a lot of solitary work in this journey. Meditation is a solitary activity, but at the same time, connecting with other people who understand you, or having a connection with a teacher, or having a connection with a sangha, can also help you, propel you deeper into your heart. Most of the time, people feel very lonely when they had a very difficult childhood. Most of the time, this loneliness is the echo of being lonely and rejected as a child. And I know it's hard for you. It was very hard for me too. So the connection to yourself, the feeling of connection to yourself, and the feeling of connection to other people is actually the same connection. And it's no wonder that if you were rejected and neglected, that you don't feel connected to other people. They feel dangerous, don't they? They're not all like that, even though a lot of them are. It's just that there are growing pains to grow out of that reality, which was the only reality for you. And then the ultimate connection is the connection to all life. So first we reconnect with ourselves, reconnect to other people, and then we're growing deeper and deeper in connections with all life, because all life are fundamentally the same. We're all brothers and sisters. Just imagine that all life is related. It's extraordinary, isn't it? Even the grass is related to you. You're a part of this huge family of life. And if you're alive, you belong. You are a success. Your breathing is a testament to it.
That I belong here.
Yeah. That you belong here. In this huge family of life. People might be crazy and fucked up, but not all of them and not all of life. The difference is that people hurt you for no reason, or for seemingly no reason, due to their own reasons. And it's especially scarring when your parents do that. guess what? The good news is that the power of awareness to weather it all and to withstand it all is infinite. And the power of awareness to heal your wounds is infinite. This connection, this foundation is stronger than any trauma, than any loneliness, than any pain and any grief. This love, the infinitude, the ocean of love that every living being has access to, is stronger than any pain. It hugs it, allows it, and dissolves it with time. It always brings up tears when we understand what's possible.
When you understand how disconnected or how much you
Yes.
rejected yourself.
Yes, yes. It always brings up tears, yes. But those are beautiful tears. Those are healing tears. Those are the tears of compassion of yourself, towards yourself. Those are the tears you need. No one cried for you, so you're crying for yourself. This awareness is also infinitely compassionate. So those are wonderful tears.
Do you feel bad that I'm taking up attention?
No, don't worry about it. You deserve all the attention in the world. Everything will heal. Trust it. Anyone else? It's okay. It's okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
So I feel that I've had experiences in which I felt very, how do I say this?
Very what?
I'm trying to see how I say. I felt very connected to maybe this awareness. I don't know. Especially in psychedelic experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and especially in my first psychedelic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But even before that, also in my life. And my first psychedelic experiences happened in ceremonial contexts,
Mm-hmm.
where there was a lot of shamanism and a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I developed a lot of ego identification with the experience of oneness. So I feel that after meeting you and like getting to know your teachings, what happened naturally for me was that I put all of those experiences aside so that I could shed some of the beliefs. And anyway, I think what I'm trying to say is that I feel that I've had that experience of feeling very connected to reality, but it goes away. It always goes away. And I'm in a point in which I'm not even trying to induce it, I'm not seeking it, and I feel okay, but I feel very separated all the time. So I don't know if you have anything to say regarding that.
Yeah, so if it goes away, it simply means that the veil of beliefs and the emotional suppression is too thick, so to say, for it to be accessible. And as you come back and as you go through it, it might not just immediately appear like, oh, I'm also connected, and then it goes away. Even this also happens. This could also happen. You might be thrust into it for like a few days, and then you go back to identification. This also happens. It's just a matter of is it intense or gradual? But what could also happen is as the beliefs are gradually dissolved, you feel more and more connected. So this kind of connection grows. So I'm pretty sure that you would say that you may still feel disconnected from yourself, but I'm pretty sure that you would say that you feel much more connected to yourself than, let's say, 10 years ago, right? So yeah, so that's for sure. So it is a result of the continued spiritual work. The belief creates some sort of a fog over the reality that is seen very clearly in the abiding state. The thicker the belief, the more the beliefs are also proportional to the trauma. So the more of the trauma, the more of the unprocessed emotions. The thicker the beliefs, the more of a feeling of separation, the more suffering, the more seeking we experience. So those experiences that you had, they will come back in one form or the other. There's experiences that you had on psychedelics where there's nothing wrong with them. It's actually, it could be quite good to revisit it. The shamanic context is not very important. If you feel like it's not very important, then it's not. You might still find that there are some associations with it from before, and that's okay. You know, if you feel like doing some rituals yourself to put you in the right kind of state of mind, that's also okay.
Rituals are not working anymore.
Okay, good. That's good. That's good. Okay, that's actually good news, not bad. And so the work that leaves you there permanently is actually the work of feeling. Is work. So the energy work is what permanently gets you closer. So in the context of a psychedelic trip, the experiences of interconnectedness that you refer to is a very nice bonus. It's a great reminder, and it's also a very nice bonus to enjoy. And once you find yourself there, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it to the fullest. And you will also it will be easier to remember next time. But the real work, we could say, happens in the beginning of the psychedelic trip, on your way there, because there's a journey there, right? There's some fear, there's some emotions, you see some things, you reevaluate some things, you see more of your mind. There's some energy work, there are energies coming up. There's some emotional release, right? So there's some built up of emotional tension, and then there's a release of emotional tension, and then there's this nice plateau stage when you feel like interconnected and very. So that's a bonus, and that's okay. But the work that gets you permanently closer there is that, and that's the same work that we do in meditation. So that's why it's kind of folly to try to shoot for it, right? There's always a journey there, and strictly speaking, the difference between a psychedelic trip and the enlightened state, the effortless enlightened state that is sustained effortlessly when you're always there, is simply just the scope of this journey, right? So on a psychedelic trip, it's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of energy work, and then like 2 or 3 hours, like 2 hours of nice, relaxed, connected state. Whereas in the course of life, right, it's 10 years of energy, emotional work, and then the remaining lifetime of enjoying the state. But it's still the same. It's fundamentally still the same. And so the journey kind of, it's not a linear. It can come in ebbs and flows, like more glimpses, less glimpses, deeper, permanent realization of as some of the beliefs fall off, realization comes, the feeling of connection effortlessly maintained can also can also increase, but then boom, you have like a deeper glimpse, which could be profound. Then you go back to whatever state you're in. But the good news is that your baseline, which is also corresponds to whatever beliefs you have already threw off and whatever suppression and tensions you have already worked through, you do not actually regress. If it feels like regression, it just means that it's the continued working on the same issue. So your baseline as you do this journey will continually improve. And I think that's what you need to focus on. So just continue doing meditation. You can use psychedelic medicine, continue all of your practices, and just enjoy the results and the benefits. And the fireworks, they will also come. They will also come unexpectedly. If there's a yearning in your mind to experience fireworks, then you will.
Thank you.
Does it make sense?
A lot. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay.
I hope it's a poem.
It's more personal than yesterday's questions.
Okay.
So I've been in recovery from substance abuse.
Which one?
Cannabis.
What?
Cannabis, weed.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And it's been like a very rocky road, to say the least. Periods of equanimity and deep inner work, and then periods of reverting back to addiction. And every time I come back to addiction, it gets like worse and worse. It's almost like the more that, like, just the more that I have ever used weed, the more that it's felt like it just reinforces a dream that becomes like more and more painful. But the point is that I feel like sobriety is so interesting because it's shown me that weed was really just a symbol for this deeper addiction. And it's like this addiction to get outside of myself. And so whether it's like weed or food or sex or something else, it's like I'm just not satisfied with existing, with being alive. I feel like I need to add something to it. And sorry. on one hand, it feels more relaxing and more true and honest than ever before to let go or try to let go. But it also feels, there's just so much grief that comes with it. And just this feeling that like nothing I've ever wanted will ever actually get me what I want. It feels like I'm losing the entire world. And I've really struggled to maintain consistency with sobriety, even though it's really important for me to, I feel because it feels like the grief is so intense that it feels like I'll either not get what I want and suffer, not get to do the drugs and blah, 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 and then experience tremendous grief. Or I will get what I want and I'll still suffer. And there's this understanding that I just have to kind of go through that and grieve more. But it almost feels like I'm being pinched because it feels like I'm constantly swinging between extremes, and the extremes are just getting more and more extreme. Like these deep states of equanimity, and then this like really just horrifying feeling of death. And I guess my question then is just, like I try to tell myself, it's okay, just feel the feelings as much as you can, and it'll work itself out, and you'll maintain sobriety consistently, and eventually awareness will emerge. But that story feels like such bullshit, because I just I keep failing, like over and over and over again, it feels like. And it feels like there's something that I'm missing, that there's some way I've lied to myself somewhere along this process. But then it also feels like that itself is the lie, that I need to figure something out before I can let go. And so I was wondering if you just could share any insight on when you're going through really deep grief, any ways that you can, how do you not drown in the material world? How do you not actually destroy everything in this process? Physically destroy everything in this process? Does that make sense?
How would it make anything better?
It's I know it wouldn't, but I just feel so trapped. It feels like the walls are just closing in.
Yeah.
And so I have all of these my mind goes crazy and is just sell all your stuff and move to a different country, or just.
So there's I understand what you're talking about. There's this propensity of the mind to go for extreme actions. Yeah. And suicide or destructive behavior is also a manifestation of this propensity. The truth is that extreme actions rarely make anything better. Because wherever you go, there you are. You sell all your stuff and you go into another country. It will not do anything to the grieving process. So it's normal to kind of swing between the periods of contentment and the periods of deep suffering. So when you're in the period of deep suffering, there's nothing you can do. There's just this point where, as they say, if you chase divine for long enough, sooner or later divine starts chasing you. There's just this point where there's nothing you can do. All you can do is just cry. Of course, you can get support, you can get help, but there's a point on the spiritual journey when nothing makes it better. It just has to be experienced. Now, with regards to your specific question about weed, what do you like about it? Why do you use it?
I like the feeling of euphoria. It feels like a...
Does it always give you euphoria?
No, only for like the first half an hour, and then it sucks.
And then it sucks because it
sucks because it's like, okay, that need to grasp has just come back again, but now it's hard for me to even respond to that need to grasp by like sitting with myself because the mind is like so hyperactive.
Very active. The mind becomes very active. Okay.
I guess my question really is just like I feel like my mind has created this like sequence of steps that I need to do where it's like, okay, you need to be sober and you need to grieve and feel the feelings, and then through that process eventually you'll awaken. But it's like I just feel like I can't. I feel like I keep
it's outside of your control. The process of awakening is kind of outside of your control. You don't have a say in how long you will grieve. You don't have a say in when abiding awareness will appear. You don't have a say in when you become truly joyous and content. That being said, you can do specific forms of practice that intensifies it, or you can resort to coping mechanisms in a futile attempt to halt it, the process. So that's why I asked, what are you getting out of weed, right? If you only do it for the temporary feeling of euphoria, which then make things worse, then you might have formed a kind of relationship with weed. Weed is interesting. Weed is actually a psychedelic, so weed can show you more of your mind and more of the beliefs, and can elicit deeper emotional layers to see through, and emotional layers of suppression. But it's also quite easy, especially in the separated state, to form a soothing relationship with weed that sooner or later stops working. So the general dissatisfaction with your present experience is synonymous with the separated state. So if we were to say that there is absolutely nothing to do about it, then we would also have to stop advising any form of spiritual practice. The interesting forms of spiritual practice is that if it's an authentic form of spiritual practice, that it focuses on not on some kind of a trick in the conscious experience to turn away from this dissatisfaction, not some kind of a trick to create a euphoric state of mind, but on applying compassion to this dissatisfaction and then investigating this dissatisfaction and seeing both in the level of immediate experience and also, which could be helpful some people, on the level of the logic, the intellect, which is asking yourself difficult questions about why this dissatisfaction is there. And so this itself is not addiction. Addiction is an attempt to escape. If you can say that at a certain point of the spiritual path, people start being addicted to meditation, actually, because even though it exacerbates the suffering, but it ultimately leads to insights into suffering and more calmness. You can say that, but it's not a real form of addiction because it's not a process that is hurting you. So if you feel like when the feelings of dissatisfaction arise, you go to meditate, and it exacerbates it, and it gives you some insight, and it gives you some emotional release, I would not talk about it as I have a need to change my experience. That's actually quite good and quite healthy, because meditation does not change the experience, it actually makes you closer to the experience. So the same is true about classical psychedelics, but it's not always true about weed. So if you have this yearning to change something in your experience, don't berate yourself. Like, don't think that you're doing something wrong. I had this yearning too. That's why I took psychedelics. After the realization, I meditated for like 4 or 5 hours a day for a few years. I mean, you could always say, also, if you wish to be kind of judgmental, you could also describe it as a yearning to change something about the experience. But you could also describe it as a yearning to go deeper into the experience and to understand the dissatisfaction and to let go of the dissatisfaction, to develop less resistance to the feelings, to how you feel at every given time. So from that perspective, if you have kind of a lot of those like yo-yo tendencies, and you have some kind of deep itch to change something in your experience, there's nothing wrong with at that time doing a longer form meditation or using classical psychedelics like LSD or magic mushrooms. Weed has addictive potential. LSD and magic mushrooms actually do not. I mean, they have very high tolerance. If you take it every day, they will just stop working, and they generally consider self-regulating. In my experience, it's not possible to get addicted to it, because every even the most pleasurable experience, like what we discussed with Diana, it has a cost of going there, which is exposing more of the mind. So it's much more balanced in this way. And but there could be yearning to change something. It could be yearning to experience something else. It could be there could be yearning for intensity. I've actually myself had experienced all of that. So you can, if you wish to intensify the journey, or if you just kind of, okay, I'm fed up with this again, I need to experience more, I want to see more of myself, I need to experience more of the things that comes afterwards too. I don't think there's anything wrong with if that's partly one of the reasons that you come back to weed, then I don't think there's it might be beneficial for you. If you feel like it's very difficult for you to stop using weed, it might be beneficial for you to like just replace weed with a modest dose of LSD, for example, right? Now, when it comes to the intensity of feelings, of course, that's not going to make things less intense. It's going to make things more intense, right? But maybe that's what you're yearning for. So you kind of have to see what you want. Do you want a kind of a slow burn misery over a period of time, or you want a kind of more intense? But it can get very intense, emotionally speaking. Lots of grief, lots of fear. Be mindful. The intensity on the emotional level, I'm afraid, cannot be overcome. Some people even yearn for it. I know I yearned for it. The yearning for intensity just means that there's a lot of suppression, right? But be mindful of translating the swings and intensity into hectic life actions.
Yeah,
because that's usually is not a very wise translation. It's much wiser if you want to do change in your life, even a drastic change in your life, like drastically change your lifestyle. It's still better when you do it not to escape something or not to change your inner experience, because that usually doesn't change your inner experience. But you do it in a kind of with a more conscious way, as a move towards a different life that you want to lead. And you know that it's just a different life that you want to lead, rather than it's an attempt to escape something horrible that might happen internally, or some exposure to some fear, or like an attempt to escape, basically. That doesn't work.
Yeah, it feels like that's what's made weed so destructive, is that I use it with the intention of dreaming more. Like, I use it because it makes it a little bit easier to like suppress feelings, just go into your mind and just believe every stupid story. I guess where I feel like I've sort of hung myself up or shot myself in the foot is that it feels like sometimes I feel like I deny myself certain practices or certain approaches to emotion work that might be helpful for me.
Can you give me an example?
I worry that they might reinforce the ego. Like, for instance, I have this like tapestry on my wall of this like beautiful like angelic figure, and on one hand there is this like deep emotional, like there's this joy that I get from doing like sort of devotion-based practice with it, but then it also feels like I'm not supposed to do that because
you're right to.
It's not non-dual enough.
You're right to have caught yourself. That's nonsense. So you rejecting yourself devotional practices of other practices, because on the intellectual level, you know that kind of they are, let's say, egoic, and you read somewhere that like it doesn't exist in the ultimate reality,
like, I don't want to reinforce a self.
When you heard it, yeah, that's nonsense. That's not how it works. So you should absolutely allow yourself to do these practices. It's the same as like I can tell you that 99% of emotional experience is ego, and yet that is most of the things that we do in these retreats. So by that logic, these retreats would be reinforcing the ego. No, the practice, the spiritual practice is about exploration of the ego and exploration of every emotional experience. Exploration is not reinforcing. You see, the ego you can even look at the spiritual journey as the journey of exploring the mind's tendency to create an experience in the present based on the past, based on the unresolved past, and exhausting the mind from this tendency. That's why enlightenment is neither misery nor a continuous excitement for the future, because both are experiences in the present that are created based on the past. And so anything that can help you explore and enjoy those experiences could help. So associations, like for example, when I felt like crying, I would watch a sad movie. You know, you could, if you have some associations with this angelic figures and it gives you some feeling of love and devotion, use it for as long as it works. You see, so you will have to exhaust the mind's ability to create all of these experiences before the mind settles into deep equanimity. So another way to look into it is that you have to learn on the spiritual path. What you're learning on the spiritual path is enjoying everything and exhausting your taste for it. So you explore the whole landscape of your emotional experience and learn to enjoy it all. So if you have devotional, deep love experiences, maybe even in some ritual settings, if you feel like it touches your heart, it changes your state of consciousness, that part will be explored, and you need to enjoy it until it's no longer needed. Yes, like some masters said, the yearning for spiritual experiences also needs to be dropped. Sure, but you cannot drop anything before you have enjoyed it fully. Just like you cannot drop your grief before you have enjoyed it fully. So don't try to judge whether a practice is egoic or not egoic based on how exactly it gets you deeper to the immediacy of the emotion experience. It could be the immediacy of grief, but it could also be the immediacy of awe, the immediacy of gratitude, the immediacy of devotion, the immediacy of love, the immediacy of feeling connected to the divine. It can be anything at all. And finally, with regards to weed is kind of weird in a way. So it is possible, or maybe I have already said that, but it is possible to form a kind of a soothing relationship with weed, the way that it's not possible in my experience with classical psychedelics. But what classical psychedelics will do is it would also automatically give you this multifaceted different experiences. So sometimes one time it could be grief, another time it could be the deep feeling of awe, gratitude, or deep connection with divine, with the divine. So we can say that yes, the desire to have a different experience from the one that you're having right now is what constitutes dreaming. Yes, strictly speaking, we can say that. And that's why psychedelics stop working eventually. But you cannot circumvent that without allowing yourself to experience that. So because you can only drop the desire for some inner experiences, to experience some inner state of consciousness by experiencing it. It's like I could even say that from a certain perspective, I don't experience fear or anger is because I have satisfied my taste for it. From a certain perspective, that would be true. I mean, we could say that I have experienced all of the suppressed fear that was with me, that I rejected myself to experience. But from another perspective, I could say I have really enjoyed it, and you can, and I have satisfied my taste, and I'm just not interested anymore. But it was very fun, very much fun. So that's why at a certain point of the spiritual journey, you actually begin to enjoy even those experiences that are considered to be bad. So not only, of course, awe, gratitude, connection, those are all very pleasant, but you even start to enjoy things like grief. You start to enjoy being scared, closer to when the exhaustion starts to happen. You see, because on some level you think that you don't want to experience like fear, grief, or something like this, but the consciousness wants to, because it wants to explore everything. And so there's nothing wrong with doing any form of practice, including psychedelics, with the kind of specific idea, or at least the result of it will be that you will have more of the experiences that are other than what you kind of supposed to be accepting right now. There's nothing wrong. Meditation does the same. You go into like a dark room meditation, spend 10 days there, you're going to have like psychedelic experiences out of your mind. So this tendency of the mind to yearn for experience something else, it does get explored in full breadth of the spiritual path. Don't try to mask it with fake equanimity. Just be mindful not to do anything erratic in life. And that, by the way, extend to things like, for example, I had a lot of fantasies of homicide, and I mean, not that I was planning to kill somebody, but I had like, what's it called? Fantasies of violence as like a form of revenge or rage and they were like bizarre. They were like super, like, if I had a dream like that like 50 years ago, I would freak the fuck out, and I would probably be thinking about this for years, right? So now I don't anymore, because this kind of yearning so this yearning is predicated, you can say that this yearning is predicated on the emotional suppression, and in satisfying this yearning, we also satisfy the emotional suppression. It's one and the same process.
I guess that's reassuring to hear, because there's this side of me that's like, I just don't feel like I'll be satisfied until I've had a certain amount of intensity.
And it's probably true. And I could say the same thing about myself, right? Like, if you say that the mind only settles in deep equanimity and silence once it's satisfied, then yes, I mean, I would not be satisfied until I had all my tears, all my rage, all this beautiful spiritual experience, all these beautiful unitive experiences, the experiences of nothingness and emptiness, everything that I experienced in my thousands of hours in meditation and my thousands of hours of psychedelic trips. All of this was needed, and all of this was leading to deeper and deeper satisfaction, up to the point when the only thing that I'm interested in is what's going on right now. And that's what enlightenment is. But the path towards it is the exploration of the dreaming mind. And you're absolutely right. If you intuit, like, you will not be satisfied, you won't, until you explore that, until you have all those intense experiences. Have them. Just be sane. Don't do like things like, oh, okay, you know what, I'm gonna just take like 10 tabs of LSD. I mean, that would be absolutely overwhelming. So be sane. Know yourself. Know your kind of the responses of the body. Know your limits, and this applies to psychedelics. This applies to meditation. This applies to other forms of spiritual practice. Don't be afraid of intensity, and take kind of certain sane steps so that it does not destabilize your life too much. I mean, it will probably destabilize your life somewhat. I mean, I myself had quite a lot of arguments or interactions with some of my friends that I now regret, or some other interactions. So those. And I also had, by the way, an impulse, like very shortly, I also had an impulse to like sell the house and like just go travel, go like be a monk or something like this, right? So just be sane in how it translates into life. But if you feel like you crave intensity and you want to experience more in consciousness, then that's actually a quite valid path towards equanimity. Remember, you cannot let go of anything that the mind still has the taste for. I love the Sadyashanti's quote. It's precisely on point. It applies to anger, it applies to hatred, it applies to spiritual experiences, it applies to unitive experiences. For as long as there's a yearning to experience something else, it's actually good for you to experience it. It's a very experiential journey.
My last question is super quick. You said that you said that ego is 99% emotions.
Yeah.
Is there an emotion, or you said emotions are 99% ego, I think you said.
Oh, yeah.
Is there an emotion that's not ego?
Yeah.
What is it?
The one that is a immediate direct response on what's going on right now. And what's really going on, not what's going on about...
So like if your mother died in front of you, you could experience like sadness in the moment?
Yeah. But it also depends, right? I probably will, but also probably not as much as other people, because it's a much more natural order of things. Because I know that everyone is going to die. I know that my mother is going to die. I never forget it. She's she's quite elderly, so she lived a long life. It's not a tragedy if someone like 20 years old dies, right? So something like that, yes. Or for example, if I start physically abusing you, you will get angry,
Yeah.
right? The emotions that are mostly coming from the ego are not coming from something that is actually going on in reality, but it's either coming from past, it's coming from your misinterpretation of reality, or from the illusion of what's in another person's mind being important. So for example, this applies to emotionally reacting to other people's opinions of you, and that's why in the true kind of no self state, where everything is self state, depending on how you want to look at it, the insults don't create emotional reaction, because strictly speaking, an insult, unless someone is truly physically aggressive, then you could experience fear or anger, but an insult, strictly speaking, is just a communication that this person thinks of you badly. I mean, why does that have to be? These things come from ego. But yeah, I mean, that's why I say that like 99% of emotions come from ego, but not all of them. And the emotions that are not coming from ego, but that are a response to immediate life events, they also feel very different. There's no pain to them. The pain that we experience when we experience an emotion is directly proportional to our resistance to it. And our resistance to it is directly proportional to how much of it we have rejected, how much of it we have suppressed. So emotions are painful when we are used to deny them, right? The more you used to deny them, the more painful they are experienced. And that's what it means, like it's coming from the past. There could be years and years of denying yourself an emotion, so when you only start to approach it, you also kind of, oftentimes on the level of conscious experience, you start experiencing the same emotion about your past. You're crying about things you haven't cried about before, like for example, things like that. And you realize that you would have if you weren't so separated, if you weren't so restricted, right? So when this is exhausted, then the emotions that come as a result of the actions that are happening now, they come very effortlessly and they leave very effortlessly, and they're not painful, and they're actually quite enjoyable. So if I do cry when my mother died, then it will be a very beautiful, enjoyable, grateful tears. But again, because my mother lived a very long life, and I understand that she won't live very long, I kind of already know that. But my friend died after self-realization, and I did cry.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's about to wrap up. Do we still have time for another question if it's quick? Yeah, so if it's quick. So anyone else wants to? So Alex raised his hand, I see, but I just want to see if there is anyone else who might want to. No? Okay, then let's give it to Alex here.
So during the talk, I noticed that just as I kept looking at you, you're just more like experiencing you more and more and more as myself. It's so trippy.
Yeah, it is trippy.
Because there's like the Artem that my mind generates, and then there's Artem, and it's like, whoa, that's like life, that's myself. Like it's very, like your face just changes, right?
It is trippy, yeah.
What I've noticed though is that when I'm quiet and we're just having eye contact, that's when I feel most home.
Mm.
That's when I feel most real
Yeah.
and true. But when I start like, when we're like socializing here, for example, I can feel this inertia
Yep.
of like leaving home,
Yeah.
of like becoming unreal, becoming
Yeah.
fake.
Playing a role. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's because the conditioning, the role playing is conditioned by society, so it's most triggered by society. Those are the so you are conditioned to behave a certain way, not for the nature. The nature doesn't want it. The nature wants you to be yourself, but for other people. And so whatever's left of those tendencies will be most exposed by other people. Again, it can be exposed in meditation or like many forms of spiritual practice, but at a certain point of time you start seeing how other people. So pay keen attention to that. So notice that in your familiar environment, just simply notice it and notice the emotions that are also driving your behavior. Notice the yearnings to show off in a certain way, to present yourself as something, and try to understand what is driving that. But because, like, if you try not to do it with the people that you know, it might come off as a little weird. So you might want to do some practice. But in an environment like this, you can actually practice not to do it.
Yeah.
Like every time that you notice that you are, and you can even share it. Like every time that you notice that you are like automatically want to engage a certain form of behavior, you can just take a pause. And by the way, when you socialize, when you talk to each other, first of all, listen. Don't interrupt. And then second of all, give yourself and the other person ample permission to do pauses. So silence is your friend. Don't notice this tendency in you to feel something, to feel silence with something. That comes from the uncomfort. That comes from the uncomfort of being in your own skin. So you can take a pause, reflect a little bit, and just do something differently. And see how it feels. It may feel like a little scary, or it may feel a little weird, or you may feel vulnerable or exposed, but it would be good practice.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I've started to slow down when I'm talking to
Yeah?
someone in these moments, and that's when I feel the fear of disapproval,
Mm-hmm.
of rejection, of shame,
Good.
and it's like, it feels like almost like they're expecting me to
Mhm.
be this character.
You're expecting yourself.
And I'm expecting
Yeah.
myself. But the quieter I am and the more still that I am, the more fear that arises.
Good.
Because I'm afraid that what they'll think of me will become true or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Good. Good. So pay attention
So
to this fear.
yeah.
Yeah. So slow down. I mean, just slow your interactions down. Slow everything down. In silence, in stillness, everything becomes much more visible, much clearer.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so that concludes our talk. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening.